Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 29 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 4 p.m. in Europe, 3 p.m. in the UK, and 9 a.m. in central US. If you missed the podcast, you can catch up with the whole show where I re-upload it every Sunday to my own YouTube channel at Virtual Reality Oasis. Or check out the audio-only version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So just like last week, we are actually pre-recording this episode this week, and that is because me and the little Nathie are heading to Amsterdam to go to VidCon, so unfortunately we can't do the podcast live because we'll be involved in some crazy creator discussion about how we can improve on the platform, so I hope you guys understand that. But let me introduce you to the crew, not like they need any introduction, but if you're new to the show, maybe you don't know these wonderful bunch of VR people. So let me introduce you, and this is, first up, he wants to live the American dream, and that is our little Nathie. How you doing, dude? You alright?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, and yeah, we are going to VidCon, right?
We are.
It's so exciting, or we have already been there.
We will be there when this goes live.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm
here already.
But we are going to a presentation about podcasting, so that's going to be really cool.
Very interesting.
I think there is plenty we can learn, to be honest.
You can always learn something, you know?
Yeah, that's true. We had a few technical difficulties just before the show, but, you know, it's not the VR Inside podcast unless you've got to rush around in the last few minutes before the show to get things working okay.
Mike got attacked by a garden snake.
Yeah. Had to source this little cable to get things working, but yeah. Next up, this guy, he likes to get rowdy, but with fruit. It is, of course, the RowdyGuy. How you doing, dude? You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright, man. I'm actually doing great, yeah. How are you doing yourself?
You've been taking on bananas, you've been taking on strawberries and apples.
No fruit is safe, you know?
No fruit is safe.
No fruit is safe.
But you're good?
Yeah, I'm alright, man. I'm alright. I'm always excited for these kind of podcasts, especially if you do them in the evening, because it's like a different kind of setting. I like that, actually. Yeah. It's a nice kind of thing.
We just laughed so much. Like I don't know if I was laughing just because I was just like so tired that you just get a bit crazy, or I was just the mood was just taking me a different place.
I think it was a very fun episode.
It was indeed, yeah. So our next up, this guy, he's actually the new model for Oculus. He's modeling Oculus.
Yeah.
And he's being used in all their GDC images. That is our ZimTalk 5. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. You know, just grease it up, Mike, and flaunt it if you've got it, I guess, would be my 2 tips in the world.
Yeah. So first Oculus, next up Calvin Klein. You never know.
Calvin Klein, that's right.
Hey, who doesn't like a little bit of like ZimTalk propaganda? I mean, it's
in underwear?
Welcome.
Oh, I'd sign up for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking very colorful patterns they'd be.
They would be if your current attire is anything to go by. So, last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike, from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we have got tons of stuff to talk about. We've got loads of news from GDC, lots of hardware, lots of games to talk about. We've got Uber talking about patenting a VR system for self-driving cars. But are self-driving cars dangerous or not? It's a good question to ask. We've got Skyrim VR, say goodbye to all your spare time because this is pretty much going to take up all of it. We've got the Microsoft Claw, and then we're going to be talking about the Google Lenovo Mirage Daydream headset as well. So let's kick off the show, find out what everyone's been up to on this this week. You know, it's been a bit of a crazy week with a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But let's kick it over to Nathie first to see what you've been up to and enjoying in the metaverse.
Okay, so in this short week, I played 3 games. I'm going to cheat a bit. I will also take a game from last week. So I played Protocol. It's that Duke Nukem kind of game, you know, where you need to do crazy missions. You're basically James Bond, but then you need to do weird stuff. Okay? Just not a professional James Bond, I would say. But that's what I played. It's one of those games that is flying under the radar right now. Well, I think it has a lot of potential to become a great game. They did use like third-person teleportation. You know, I'm not.
Why are people doing that? Why? What?
I mean, it can be in there, you know. I'm not saying that it's not welcome, because some people will like it. It's just that there were no other options for me to pick from, so I was forced to use this. But the funny thing is, there is a part, and I'm not sure. No, it's not really a spoiler. So since the character changes throughout the game, you can see what happens when you do the third-person teleportation. So let's say if he's not wearing pants, then you can see that too. Or when he's wearing a top hat, then you can see that too. So that's what they did. But they could have also like added a mirror instead, right? To look at. But
that'd be real.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
style.
Is the game still in early access, so they could like implement smooth logo?
So this is one of those games that is a native pancake game, and they added VR support to it. But this one actually has VR support that is pretty freaking good. It doesn't feel like it has been added later on. They have been doing this from the start when they built the game. So yeah, I also played The American Dream. I mean, let's say the storyline is kind of entertaining, and the way they put you in that little cart, you know, and you're driving around through all kinds of levels was nice. But it's so stretched. It all takes so long, and there's a dog talking to you, and sometimes you're like, you know, just stop talking and let me just play the mini game, okay? Because you need to wait. Like most of the time, you're just sitting there waiting for that moment where you can actually do something within the level. But The American Dream is basically a game that like makes a parody out of the fact that there are like gun laws in America, you know, and then they basically created a future with this VR game where you only use guns for everything you do. So changing a diaper, going to the supermarket, dating with someone, like weapons everywhere. So it's kind of funny. So even baking hamburgers with guns. And last but not least, I also played Hop Along the Badlands. It's a cowboy game where you have like a horse on a stick, and the way they did the locomotion is freaking cool. So you have that I don't really know how you call that, a horse stick, like those toys from the past,
like a fake,
you know?
like a fake horse. Like
I
get what you mean.
Yeah. So then when you use your controller and you move it around, you actually run around with the horse, and after a while, it really feels like the horse is alive. Well, it's just a toy horse. But the way they did the locomotion is great. It's really refreshing, and I mean, gameplay wise, was fine. It's an average game, I would say, but it's coming soon to PlayStation VR. So I was like, maybe I should just check it out before it comes out. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Fair enough. And that Protocol game, is that available on Steam right now, I take it?
Well, yeah, you can find it on Steam. I did hear from you guys that it was hard to find. But if you search for Protocol and then VR, you would be able to find it. But it's hard. But I hope people will see this game popping up on the Steam store at the right moment, because I think it is an interesting one to keep an eye on.
It's not available yet at the moment, though. It will be available in May 2018.
Yeah,
it's coming soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming soon. Yeah.
Right. But you say like it's one to look out for out of the 3 games that you played this week.
If you like that old school Duke Nukem kind of style where you are doing all kinds of silly things, then yes, that's the one I would look out for.
Because when you say silly things, like I did see a small clip of you maybe going for a wee in VR, using the controller.
That's true. It has penis tracking.
Wow, that is a first. You heard it here first on the VR Inside podcast.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Zim, how can you top that? Like, I'm intrigued.
Oh, it's easy. Oh, easy. Any of you ever heard of football? And I don't mean Yank football either. I mean proper English football, right? So, I played FC, or in fact, I always get this wrong, but
FC
VR.
Yeah,
I'm getting that
FC
right.
VR.
FC
That's
VR.
it, I think.
So it's essentially a footy game. So it's a footy game in VR. And they did this wonderful marionette puppet controller design where your hands. So I was using touch controllers. Your hands control your shoes. So your hands in the game you don't control. You only control your shoes. So you're running by literally up and down. I made a comment. I won't repeat it here. It was something to do with an elephant and pleasing the elephant. But anyway, there's a lot of hand motion up and down as you're playing this game. Even after an hour, my arms were dead. But you basically, the turn is your feet as well. And when you're striking the ball, all that motion is tracked. So it's actually an incredibly intelligent design. So like what Nathy said about that other game.
But you play it like a tennis game.
It's a football game, but you play it like a tennis game. Yeah, it's not a bad. That's not a bad analogy, actually.
Is it good? Because I've seen it appear.
Yeah, so
I have not yet had a chance.
What I'd say
it.
is, first thing I noticed was when I got in, everybody I played with was on PlayStation, so it's cross-platform. I was playing it on
okay,
home,
that's cool.
on Oculus Home.
Impressive.
And the thing I found out was, first off, straight away, there were dudes that played a day who were kicking my ass like nothing else. I mean, they were already really good. You know, these are obviously console jockeys, but the game itself was like super social. Like I got chatting with a guy who I happened to know through the internet, one of the top Valkyrie players, and he knew that guy, and this was like the 6th guy I met online, and then we just got chatting for like 20 minutes. And then, we had a good old game, and you're like running across the pitch, like trying to get the ball off somebody else. The controls are a little bit awkward, but as you get to know them, you're like, yeah, this makes kind of sense, and no one's done something like this before, so I thought it was really cool.
Nice.
So is it mainly like 1v1, or do you control like the whole team?
No, 2v2. So it's 2v2. There's no CPUs in a multiplayer match, so it's just 2v2, and you search for a session or whatever. I think it's going to be a big hit with PlayStation players because there's a lot of people who love football games, and this is like something new. You just get to ride in the front seat. So I really liked it. I think it's actually more intense muscular-wise than Sprint Vector. It is proper intense. Like I would be hard pressed to play for more than an hour. My arms were literally falling off me because the whole time it's just like soccer. I used to be on a soccer team, and you're loitering at the back of the pitch, and then your buddy's kind of going up the left side, and you're trying to make a sprint for the ball as the enemy is. And then and it's just you keep sprinting. You're having to sprint like all the time, but there's also kind of a sprint meter, so you have to. It's a great dynamic. I think it's one of those things that if you have the opportunity to try it, just to understand what the mechanic is all about, give it a go. Give it a half an hour. FCVR is really good. And it's by the people behind Sports Bar VR or Pool Nation. So they've done some quality titles before. They know how to do multiplayer right. Yeah. The menu systems and all that are like. They're like flip boards. How do I describe it? Like a marker board that you'd be showing, if you were going to be doing positions of players or something. So very well designed from a UX perspective, I thought.
So you're saying it's like a great PlayStation VR title. So you would say that it's also very like front-facing friendly then?
It is yeah, it's definitely front-facing friendly in terms of the control design. Because I actually found I was playing it on Rift, but I wasn't spinning around while I was playing because of you have like what can I say? It's kind of like in Rocket League. I know you're a fan of Rocket League, Nathie. How you can automatically kind of snap to the ball. So where the ball is, you're like following it. So there's a little bit of like I'm a 5-year-old and it's magnet ball time again with the game. So you'll have people coming across the pitch like running to the ball like a point, but you can also independently control that. So as I said, you have to try it. It's a really cool scheme. And then the second game.
So this game has officially beaten the soccer ball minigame from Rec Room. Because that was like the only like real soccer game you could play.
There was a 2D-ish one a while back.
You have one on PlayStation as well, and I think they brought that to Oculus, like Headmaster.
I didn't like Headmaster.
Yeah.
That was a funny one, but that's not really a soccer.
No.
That's something like totally else.
Some weird mix.
But I like the fact that you mentioned that it's cross-platform play. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
More games should be cross-platform. I love it.
I just wonder how hard that is to implement. Because they make it. The thing is, they make it look easy, and they obviously had done the back work for Sports Bar VR. And then they just plugged it in for this, and they're like, it's all ready to go. It can't be that easy to do cross-platform.
It's so easy for us to sit here and go, you just flick a switch and it'll work. Like, why don't you just do it? There's like so much work that goes into the background. It's unreal.
Devs hate that as well. So the second game I played, and the last one I'll mention, is Abduction. Because we were talking about Firmament coming out, I was like, it kind of wet my whistle to go back and try to go at it. Now, I have a friend who has beaten the game, and after about 20 hours playing it, some people are like, it's just a 5-hour-long game. After about 20 hours playing it, I'm apparently a third the way through the game. So the puzzles are insanely difficult in certain places.
But are they good in an enjoyable way, or is it just painful?
No. They are...
It's both.
I'll give you an example. This is a bit of a spoiler, okay? There's one part that I think I can't believe... what I'll do is I'll raise my hand for those, watching, and then I'll put it down when I stop spoiling things. So...
Great for the audio listeners.
For the audio listeners, well, fuck 'em. Tune into the podcast next time. So there's a part where you have to understand the way a rotary phone works. So if you've not been exposed to a rotary phone, most of us will be at the age where we have, maybe not Nathie, and you don't understand that letters are associated with each number on the rotary phone. And you have to connect that to another piece of information in the game that's like halfway across the map. The puzzles are bloody tough, but when you solve them, very satisfying. So I think it's and the other side is the game looks amazing. I had it running on Epic, super sampling, 200%, super sharp, super colorful, amazing worlds. And as I said, when you unlock those puzzles, it's like nothing else. So Abduction for me, and I've heard it's on sale in a few different places. It's in a Humble Bundle now and all that kind of stuff. So definitely grab it. Do your homework, because then Firmament's coming out at some point later in the year, I believe. So
it's made by the Mist devs, right?
Yeah. By the Mist devs, which is... Can't remember.
I don't remember their name. But yeah, Firmament is coming out soon.
Sounds like a gum.
Made by the same devs.
Sounds like a gum, doesn't it?
But this is also the game where they put those holograms behind doors, right? Where you interact with people and they talk to you, and it's like a video thing, right?
Yeah, it was really weird. They've changed something though, because initially my first reaction with the game was it wasn't performing great. And the second reaction, like you said, there's these 2D images like... what was the Kite and Lightning experience? Originally, Nathie, do you remember? You know the one I'm talking about, where you're on a boat?
Senza Peso?
Senza Peso. It was just like Senza Peso, where you had flat characters, kind of like a 2D Barney model, right? Talking to you. And it felt a little bit weird. It felt a little like mishmash. But they somehow have addressed that, because the effect... is a lot better now, or it's just because it's on maximum settings and the performance is running well. But I actually would say that doesn't feel weird anymore. It just works. And that was the only part of the game that I felt was a little bit odd. People have said about it, they're like, oh, well, it was a 2D game and it's been VRified or whatever. I actually didn't even know that. Someone had to remind me that last night. It totally feels like a VR game, except for places where you are not reaching out and grabbing a switch and flicking it this way. Instead, you're looking at it as if it was like a Gear VR experience, and you're triggering it with the press of a button.
Right.
So,
right.
But nothing detracts from the game. It is, if you're up for a puzzler and you're serious about it, it does nothing. There's no HUD. There's nothing. And when you do touch something, when you click the button, a little circle appears to show you, and the circle's filled in if you can interact. That's it. And then it fades after 6 seconds.
Original. Like the original Myst game, it's very sort of like
no holds barred, doesn't handhold you at all. You're just in it.
Yeah.
And the beginning, the story is fucking weird. It's weird story. Like the storyline, I wasn't buying at all. But now that I'm as far as I am into the game, it's very cool. When the things you start to reveal and the storyline, it all fits together. It's worth playing.
Yeah. Cool. What about you then, Rowdy? What have you been up to then, dude?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I've played all of the games that Nathie has said.
Oh, right, okay.
all the same ones, exactly the same.
I would just be interested in your take on Protocol, because obviously that was the one that was sort of interesting the most.
Hey, the dude has just a nice taste.
I'm just stalking Nathie's channel, what he's doing.
He's looking on my Steam profile all the time. yeah, he's just spying.
That's what I'm doing. No, it's really weird because I've played the American Dream. I've played that one. I kind of agree with Nathie on that one. But what I do want to say though is that I kind of like that story, like a lot of talking, a lot of stuff. I don't need to do a lot then in my videos, just listening. But I like the take that they've taken on. It's like pure satire. What they
I love that. It's just like I don't even need to do anything.
Yeah, kick back, press the record button.
I'm a Let's Play channel, so I'm trying to Let's Play and make it a little bit more interesting. And there I need to really find a spot where they're not saying anything.
Exactly.
And now I can say something funny. And then I need to wait for another 2 minutes, and now I can say something funny,
Exactly.
which is
accurate.
fine. But I mean, it's a different kind of concept from what I normally play, where I need to like fill up the entire gaps with content that I just ramble out. And then I played the fruit attacks one, which is basically just a wave shooter, but then with fruit. Not really much more to say about that. And then Protocol, the one thing that Nathie hasn't mentioned yet, which I found a really interesting concept, is that it's an extremely frustrating game, and they've done that with intent. It's really because they even display it in the beginning, like in some kind of like, jesting manner. They say like, oh yeah, this game can be frustrating. Make sure you don't smash your headset or whatever, something like that they say.
Right.
But what they basically do, I'll just give like a random example. The concept of the game is you need to follow the protocol. Yeah. And if you don't follow the protocol, then, the entire place will just blow up and you need to start over from your previous checkpoint. But they've done it in such a way that, for example, you do all the puzzle, you have all the puzzle done, you finally, okay. And then they say, for example, insert the key card. I'm just giving a random example. You put the key card in, and then they say, what was on the key card?
Oh no!
How? I don't. And you try to get it out, of course, but you can't get it out anymore. And then you just need to guess something random, and then the entire place blows up, and you need to redo the entire scene just to know, like,
oh my god,
that was on the. But they do that in like a manner, because you also need to pee, like, but you also need to do it in a certain manner. It actually becomes quite hilarious, like how far they've done this. That it is frustrating, don't get me wrong, because I was a couple of times be like, oh, they got me again, because you even start paying attention to things like, I'm not forgetting this key card. No. I know what color this key card is, or, you need to take something. Yeah. But they mess around with you so much that it's...
But it's just so funny that you can trigger the end of the world with such simple stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was throwing a snowball, and I was like, you're not allowed to throw a snowball, and bam!
You violated the protocol.
And the apocalypse started. I was like, okay, well, that escalated quickly.
So that's it. I kind of found that concept intriguing. The thing that both Nathie and me played it's just like more like a demo. It's like the force, like a tutorial. They even joke about that. I think they say in the game, geez, if this was a game and the tutorial was so long, I wouldn't be buying this one or something. To say something like that, which I kind of like that kind of humor in there. So I thought that was pretty well done. I have a video on it pretty soon as well.
It kind of reminds me, the way you're talking about it, of the Stanley Parable, like a game that's very self-aware.
Because I have more of a feeling that it's like that than it is like really like a Duke Nukem game, because they do use concepts of that, but it's more like indeed like the Stanley Parable, which really feels like you're part of a story and everything is already arranged for you, and you're just following along, which is a neat concept to do in VR.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm gonna have to look into that protocol game.
Yeah. And then another one that I played, except for the ones that I mentioned, it's Conrad the Kitten.
Oh, I've seen that. I dabbled in it.
Conrad the Kitten?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of those kind of games. Like, I've never been into like Tamagotchis and that kind of stuff. And what they try to do in this game is like they give you like a virtual pet. Like you got a pet, and you need to take care of the pet. And holy moly, I didn't know that a cat was so much work, It's like a freaking full-time job. Like, you need to pick me up now, you need to turn me upside down, you need to play with me, then I wants to go in the box, then I wants to play with the toilet paper. And the most frustrating thing was at a certain point, you need to go to the shop with the cat, because, you need to buy cat stuff or whatever. And it sees like a pair of like glasses or something, and so it wants to buy the glasses. So you buy the glasses. The cat puts the freaking glasses on. He said like, oh yeah, okay, you spent your own money on that. Don't forget, you earn money, you spent your own money. And then the cat says, I don't like it, take it off. I was like, I don't know if the viewers or the listeners watch like a Little Britain.
With
that one dude, like, they paint the entire room red. Are you sure you wanted red? Are you sure you wanted red? Yes, because you always like blue. Yes, I wanted red. And then they paint the entire room red, like it's like a day's work of like 2 days work. I don't like it. I want to
don't like it. yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that cat. Yeah, no.
And did you make use of the tracking because you can have like a stuffed animal and then put your like a controller on there and then it feels like a cat too. You know?
In the beginning, they said two things. They said like, please sit on the pillow, on the virtual pillow, because it's more like a relaxing experience. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit, when I have a cat either. So I just thought, and the second thing they say is indeed like you can attach like a teddy bear or whatever to your controller. So that it feels like you're like, like, yeah, it was like that kind of stuff. It was interesting to see. And I can imagine there's an audience for this, definitely, because I think we talked about this in the last podcast as well, like Nintendogs or something. Yeah. You have something worked out like that. Yeah. And I'm not gonna. It's well done in a way. It's just not my kind of thing, and I kind of made like fun in my own way. But it's I don't like cats either.
So that's called Conrad the Kitten.
Conrad the Kitten with a K.
I throw something out there, guys. I think that the virtual pets thing will be more of a hit when AR strengthens than maybe VR. Yeah. I mean, if you have a pet that follows you around your daily routine, you can see it in your environment. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true. But I think like in VR they haven't really tried much yet in that area, and we haven't really seen anything next level. Have you ever seen an Unreal Engine Conrad the Cat game? I don't think so.
Journey.
Now it is very cartoony, but what I do like about it, and they sent me this in an email, like, don't worry, the cat can't die. So you don't know.
Don't worry. Where can I buy a chainsaw?
like you log in like 2 weeks later, you see your cat like lying like dead on the floor because you forgot to feed it. But that doesn't happen. But they do lose like interest in like it becomes like more like unhandleable, like even more unhandleable than it already is.
Cats are like that anyway.
Yeah, but you do have like certain kind of action points that you can spend a day. So it's really like a game that you need to like go back into for like a couple of minutes every day. Or every 2 days or whatever.
Like a Tamagotchi, really. Like, did you guys have Tamagotchis?
Yeah, it really is like that.
One.
Yeah. I remember killing my neighbour's one and she like didn't talk to me for months. It was like totally by accident as well. Like I don't know.
You just threw it in the toilet.
And just died. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this week I was playing Apex Construct. I know a lot of you guys have already played that one.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool game, but like story-wise, it's good that like we've got more story-driven content because it's kind of got like a cool story behind it. You've got a father who's like directing you and telling you that there's this like dangerous AI out there called Mother that's planning to sort of kill you, and there's sort of these like robot spiders like traversing the world. But there were some really frustrating elements to that game, like particularly like the terminals, like the DOS prompts. I thought it was a really smart design, but actually like inputting the codes,
not accurate
I found
enough.
So difficult. Yeah, like I would make mistakes almost every time I was inputting something.
They should so use. I was thinking, Mike, this is the feedback I gave when we were talking about it last. Was the rec room keyboard? That would be 10 times better than the way Apex implemented.
Yeah,
this kind of
or some sort of like feedback, some haptic feedback, right, when you push a key, because like I was like when it only seemed to work when I was looking down at the keys, because if I was looking at the screen that was what was being inputted, it would just be like mashing all the buttons at the same time.
Mike was just trying to type like an AZERTY keyboard, like
I was just like I know DOS. Yeah, I'm a hipster.
But the other thing was
it just didn't work.
I don't know if you found this, Mike, but the actual commands could have been a lot shorter. Like some of the words are
as well
quite long.
Yeah, that too, especially with something that was frustrating to input. Like I like the style of it, but I just think it was like maybe poorly executed. And the other thing that really frustrated me, like I'm only really halfway through my playthrough, so I haven't like finished my full review yet. But the other thing that immediately frustrated me was that like it promotes a lot of exploration, which I like, just walking around, exploring the environments. They've made a beautiful world, which, you want to explore, so that's cool. But when it comes to like having a battle with these robots, there's no quick way to get to your bow and arrow. Whereas you would have thought like, maybe if they just had a way that you could just reach behind your shoulder and just pull out your bow, and it's instantly in your hands, then you would have been ready for combat, rather than like, oh, I need to go into my inventory and then select my bow, and by that point I've already got like 2 hits from an enemy, And the problem is with dying in this game is that any XP that you've collected throughout your playthrough so far, you lose on your death, which is then you feel like it was a bit of a cheap shot
like
when you get killed.
Pirates, Mike, like Rec Room Pirates. Do you remember us dying repeatedly and going out with 0 gold?
Yeah, and look how that made us feel.
Yeah.
Very sad. Same with Apex Construct.
Yeah.
So I think it had a lot of potential. I think potentially that the fact that it was developed for PSVR at the same time maybe held it back a little bit. I really don't know, but it's a shame. It had a lot more potential. I still have to finish it, so it'll be interesting to see how it ends.
Yeah. But do you like the game?
To see where the story goes. I like it, but the minor frustrations just kind of spoil the experience for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how was the locomotion? Because the walking loco for me, like every time was an issue. Like how is it now? Did they change anything?
I haven't tried the full locomotion yet. I've only been using the teleport mechanic. So I will be going back when I finish the second half of the game, and I will experiment with a smooth loco just to see how it works, because I know people will want to know. But I think for the most part, the teleport is okay. It's okay. It works, but I think you had issues with the smooth loco when you was like clipping into parts of the world, right? So it feels like the smooth loco was kind of tacked on after the fact, because maybe they heard a lot of community feedback saying people wanted it.
Did. They even said it. They were like pretty clear about that.
Yeah, but then again, like it's their first effort as a studio making a VR title together. So I'm interested to see what they do next. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because they clearly have the ability to tell a good story and an interesting story, but it's just the kind of finesse around sort of these like dynamic, the sort of mechanics of these sort of gameplay bits that they could improve on, basically. Other than Apex Construct, I've actually been playing with some mobile VR. So I've got like a Gear VR.
Hey.
That I've.
That's not a PlayStation though.
It's not a PlayStation, no. It's a Gear VR. But because I'm going to be away, obviously, like Nathie said at the beginning, we're going to VidCon. I'm in Amsterdam right now. I flew in like a few hours ago. I thought it would be cool to bring it along with me and actually play some games. I've already got Augmented Empire pre-installed, and thanks for the T-shirt, Zim. I really appreciate it. Zim actually sent me an Augmented Empire T-shirt.
We need the blue one with like the nice that one, like
the logo on in the middle, Augmented Empire. This black one. Yeah.
Ooh, classic.
Yeah, very nice. So I'm looking forward to playing that, and I'm also looking forward to playing Esper, because I've got a review sort of lined up for Esper, but I want to play the Gear VR version as well, so I can incorporate that in my review at the same time. But also I want to check out some other Gear VR titles like Drop Dead, because that was a really cool, fun game on Rift that I used to play a fair amount. So it'll be interesting to see how that performs on Gear, because most of these titles are likely going to be coming to Go, right? It's not being confirmed, but most of the titles that are available on Gear right now are going to be on Go. So I'm just kind of preparing myself for mobile, really.
Question, Mike, in terms of the controller that you're using, is it just the one on the side, or do you have a handheld?
No, well, I actually bought this the handheld one because it's the 2017 model.
Yeah, that's
so it comes
nice
with
one.
this little controller. But funny enough, you mentioned controllers, because I also bought the SteelSeries Stratos XL, which is specifically designed for VR. So it says it's going to work with Rift and Vive, but also Android as well. So that's the controller you really want to use if you want to play Minecraft, for example, on the Gear. So it'll be interesting to test that out as well, and I'll be reviewing that when I get home next week.
Are you going to be getting into Minecraft, Mike?
Well, I'm going to install it and I'm going to give it a go. Like, I can't say that I'm going to, like, totally dig it. You never know, I might do. But I'm going to try it, and it'll be my first ever experience of Minecraft, and it'll be in VR on the Gear.
Well,
so it'll be interesting.
You have a social contract here, Mike and Rowdy, that at some stage, because I went through all the fucking things of putting a server together, you guys have to come on sometime.
Yeah,
I've got spare
Mike is basically doing the ultimate test here. He's in Amsterdam, the place to be where the magic happens, and now he needs to decide: do I want to spend my time in VR or in the city where weird stuff happens?
Well, this is the funny thing, right? Because I've been here for what, like 6 hours. And ever since I got here, I haven't left this room because other than to run and try and get a pair of headphones from downstairs and maybe eat a pizza. Because,
it's like Temptation Island.
Yeah, well, I've been preparing for the show, and I think by the time we finish tonight's show, it might be a bit too late to go into the town. I don't really know.
Not at all, Mike. Not at all.
No?
Mike,
No,
there's just someone saying like, "Hey, I got some stuff for you," and then you will have the most amazing time for a few days.
Yeah, who
It's
needs
like,
virtual reality?
Time flies by,
Yeah.
And same for the unicorns that are in the sky.
I was expecting to be doing this podcast that Mike was like in the red light district in like in one of those rooms, be like,
Reporting live from
asking
Amsterdam.
people if they ever tried VR there,
Yeah, maybe I should just walk through the red light district with that on my face. Maybe that would be interesting.
I mean, it would be an interesting interview if you would ask people like, would you go to the red light district or just watch something in VR?
yeah, like
I mean, it's
bring
still
out
pretty
the-
legit. Like, I would
bring
love
out
to know
the
what
Gear
people would
VR
say
with
on
like a
that.
sticker
I've got
of
my
Pornhub
interview
on
in,
there.
Mike, and I've got a camera, so I could do that.
You should so do that, Mike. I think it's a brilliant interview question because some people just don't feel like, they're like, what do you want to do tonight, right? It's brilliant. That's excellent. Good idea.
Yes. So that is what is going on this week, and this is what we've all been up to. So let's move on to some small news before we jump into the main topics.
Oh, the juicy
and the only
stuff.
bit of small news we've got this week is that obviously a lot of people, not including any of us, have been to the Ready Player One premieres across the globe. How sad! I was so sad I didn't get an invite. I'm so disappointed. Hashtag sad.
The funny thing is, though, I don't know if I mentioned it to every one of you all, but I got invited for the premiere in Brussels.
Yeah, in Brussels, right?
Yeah,
right.
They sent me an
Congrats, man.
email and asked me if I wanted to join there, and it's 2 days before the official release here. So that's kind of nice. Yeah,
so you're
that's
going
pretty
on
cool.
the 26th.
The 26th, yeah. It's with
Yeah,
an entire
so-
show and everything, so that's pretty cool.
Nice, man, nice. So, from early reports, and a lot of the reviews that have come out so far have been really positive about the movie, which I'm super pleased about because I thought that there was going to be a lot of obviously it had to change from the book, right? The book is very important, and I love the book the way it is, and I was listening to it again on the way over here. But it had to change for the movie for it to work properly, I think, in my mind. But I knew a lot of people were going to be upset about it, so I'm really pleased that the reviews are coming in and it's looking like a really strong movie. But there was some really funny stuff that happened around the sort of launch of the movie. And basically, it was an interview that Steven Spielberg did with Slash Film. And this is what Steven Spielberg said. He said, "You have to understand that we made the movie in an abstract set. The only way the cast could have a chance to understand where they were was when we had some virtual reality Oculus goggles. Inside the goggles was a complete build of the set that you see in the movie. You took the goggles off and you're just in a big white space, an empty space, and when you put the goggles back on, you could be in H's basement or the workshop or the distracted globe." But he mentioned specifically that it was the Oculus goggles that they used, and then everyone from Oculus was retweeting it. Yeah, look, Ready Player One, Steven Spielberg, they used the Oculus for making the movie. And then HTC were going, yeah, HTC, they were using the HTC goggles for the movie, and then they were having a little war. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Who's actually right here? And then it actually took a guy that was involved in making the film, a guy called Girish Balakrishnan. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. He was the lead virtual production developer on the movie, and he was just like, look, everyone stop arguing. This is actually what went down. Just to clarify, we used the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and the HoloLens during the filming of Ready Player One. Not just one headset, each one was used in a different stage of production.
Yeah.
When shooting mocap, we used the Rift. When scouting virtual cameras, we used the Vive. And when on the practical sets, we used the HoloLens.
So they could get all the sponsors.
But
exactly.
Yeah. But the reason why this blew up was basically because we all know that HTC is the head sponsor
Official
of this
partner.
movie.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they try to kind of maybe hide this or take the credits to say, okay, the Vive got used, and if there were other headsets, then just call them VR headsets, but not brand-wise. So that's why this became bigger than it was. I was like, I'm not even going to join this whole argument of what headset they used. I was happy that Hollywood took the interest to even use a headset in the first place. I mean, they used VR to build a set, and that's freaking epic. So why complain about something that will not bring you anywhere? I mean, they now use VR to make a movie. And that's not only going to be Ready Player One, because Steven Spielberg used this. I'm sure a lot of others will also see this.
Yeah, and it's a smart concept. It's a smart concept because it's much easier to talk to something that you can see even in its right size and everything, than it is to talk to something that you don't see.
Exactly, you're right, Rowdy. Because like when recording with green screen and stuff like that, it's very difficult for actors to understand really the director's vision. Whereas if they can just see it, then they get it straight away. I totally agree. So so now all the big brands can stop squabbling. You were all involved in making this beautiful movie, and we're all very excited to go and see it. So thank you very much. Moving on to our first topic, we're going to be talking about the news from GDC, which is obviously the Game Developers Conference that is going on right this second in San Francisco. And we've got some hot scoops for you today. And the first up is some Oculus news, and then I've got some HTC news, and then some other bits and pieces as well. So let's talk about the first bit of news, which is Oculus have been showing off the latest revision of their Santa Cruz controllers. And interestingly, they were showing a still frame of a picture of it. And the controllers were actually white. So that's really interesting because it could well be, and this is the kind of way, when I saw that they were white controllers, I was thinking, maybe the headset will be white as well. And they're going to go along the lines of distinguishing between the three products that they've brought to market. So the Rift is going to be black, obviously. The Go is this grey colour, and then the Santa Cruz is going to be white. So regardless of which headset someone's using, you know instantly what product it is.
Could be white for
what do you think about that?
For clean lines, clean, borderless, boundaryless, like that. And I also think that they might be. We know from early days they've been branding very Apple-like. Given Apple isn't in the scene yet in this space, why not take up that space right now?
Yeah.
Grab that icon while it's free.
And the thing is, like, Vive did the same thing with the Vive Pro, right? It's like a blue, although it's very sort of subtle blue. It differentiates it between the products when you see it straight away. So it's a smart move, and I think, in my mind, I'd actually quite like it to be white. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Of what? Of the Vive or of the
Santa Cruz?
The Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the black look, like kind of a dark gray.
I like,
black
look. But you know what the problem is with white? Like it gets dirty and you see it. But it depends. Like it depends on the coating that is on the controller. If there is then you will not see it. But let's say if it's just I don't know what kind of material it could be, then you will see those little smudgy.
Did you say dirty, Nathie?
I have exactly the same thing.
That's because it's got a cloth exterior. And the smudges from your hand or whatever get into it. I've had to do serious repairs on my Rift over time. The Velcro ripped off of it and all that kind of stuff. Just because the thing kind of falls apart a little bit.
It's been a while now, right? And since it came out, so
but they should definitely offer different colors. It's the same with the Vive Focus, where you have like a blue one and a white one. If you just sell a black one and a white one, fine. It's with Apple too. If I want to buy an iPhone that is space gray, then I can. If I want a white one, then So
I actually don't really care. Like, I mean,
it's not really doing anything.
I don't care.
It's about what happens inside the headset, right? But
it's like what VR Cover does. I kind of like that. You can buy different colors from them, and then
you're never going to be a model for Oculus with that attitude, Rowdy. That's all I say.
The biggest thing as Oculus's brand new model.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say that the thing that I miss from the DK2 the most, and this is if you have a certain camera. And you have the DK2. The purple lights on that headset made it look awesome when you were streaming or whatever. So when paired with Logitech optics, it really shone. Like the CV1 does it a little bit. It's got the kind of white dots that are still picked up by the camera when it's on, but it's not the same effect. I love to see them return to that. I know it was just kind of a side effect, but I'd love to see that come back.
The coolest headset I still think in looks is the PlayStation one. The white with the black, and then the blue lights. It looks very futuristic.
If someone brings out a headset with some cool lights on it, I'm totally in for that.
Yeah. Did you not see the one that looks like Batman eyes? I can't remember which one it was. Yeah. Maybe.
Imagine if you can customize the front where you have Knight Rider stuff, or you can have
audio
bars going up and down, or
you just want one of those Daft Punk helmets.
Like cyberpunk kind of.
What you're saying now is what PlayStation VR does, because you can buy those stickers that you can put on there. Maybe Zim has one.
Right. Yeah. I've seen those.
That you can yeah, like you can put like stickers on like the front part and on the top part as well, so that it looks like, you know, you can be like a Power Ranger or like Iron Man and then they also very smart use those lights on there to make like the eyes and stuff. It's actually really cool.
I have a prediction here actually, because I know we're going to be talking a little bit about the Oculus Go as well, but because the Oculus Go doesn't have any tracking lights, I bet you people are going to sticker them up like all hell, like the back of, you know, of an iMac or something like that, because you can. I mean, Rowdy, you do the whole googly eyes thing, which drives me batty. By the way, I hate it when people do that. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. But you know, the whole stickering thing, people like it. People like customizing, and I think that ugly gray that they've got, you know, going, unfortunately, with the Go, I think some people will want to cover that up.
Yeah.
So just on the same news as the Santa Cruz, before we digress too far away, is that they've completely got rid of the trackpads on the Santa Cruz controllers and they've replaced them with thumbsticks. So originally, OC4, they were saying, oh, the Rift is going to have thumbsticks, but the Santa Cruz is going to have trackpads, and everyone was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So I'm really pleased that they've gone back and they've stuck thumbsticks on the Santa Cruz controllers.
I'm still hoping for a controller. It's the same with the mixed reality one, where you have like the touchpad and or one controller, touchpad, and one like a thumbstick, something like that. Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like when I heard about the Oculus Touch controllers for the first time, I was like, yes, we got thumbsticks, because then we can finally walk around, and it's only getting used to reset your like tracking most of the time, or it's there to teleport, and it's very accurate. I like the thumbstick, but if you have a combination of that, because using that touchpad to swipe through stuff or select certain things is also super duper nice. Have like having a combination of that. Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up.
That's funny that you say that, Nathie, because I find that the trackpad in everything that I can think of underperforms against the touch controls. Like for selection, for browsing, I want analog. I don't want this, you know, degradation that I get in the trackpad. So
I don't agree with that, because the moment you have clicking, I actually prefer the trackpad.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you click with the thing, I don't really like that. If there's something clicking, for example, up, down, left, right, you need to click that. So there's 4 buttons. I prefer that compared to what I also like is like, have any of you like played Serious Sam?
Yep.
Like they have like those weapon wheels like that, where you can like flick through and scroll through. When you select a new weapon, I like that with a trackpad as well. Flicking through and like selecting.
Yeah, it's the
like
same
the
with Apex Construct. I noticed when I played that demo that you can swipe around through the different sort of like lures and stuff like that.
Doesn't always work just as well, but
no, but like having a combination, then you can like swap around, where you say like, now I use this and now I use that. Plus, like there will be more.
The coolest thing would be modular controllers that you can just like take a part out and put a part in.
Click them together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, modular VR is what we want, right? You want to take the best out of some systems, you know, the best headset from this system, but mix it with the controllers from this system and the tracking from this system. That's what we want. Yeah,
sounds great.
I don't think it'll ever happen. Yeah,
sounds awesome.
In your make-believe world, Mike. In your happy make-believe world, it'll never happen. Yeah, and dinosaurs. So I just wanted to have a quick shout out to Olivier Palmire from Ubisoft Montreal for sharing that picture of the Santa Cruz picture. They gave us the inside scoop on that, so thanks very much. I don't think we'll hear any more about the Santa Cruz, to be honest, until maybe later on in the year now. I think Oculus Connect 5 is likely when they're going to be talking about it more. Maybe a launch just before Christmas would make sense, but I don't think it's going to come any time earlier than that, because I think they're going to be focused on the Go.
And what about the E3? Is that still not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, E3 maybe, but like I think E3, like we'll see maybe some games from Oculus, but I don't think we'll see any more about like Santa Cruz or its official name, because I think Santa Cruz is still going to be like just a project name.
I totally want them to Oprah it, Mike. I want them to Oprah it, because last year was such a disappointment with the OC4, like high ticket price and really no present under the seat. I want them to be like, and everyone in the audience has a Santa Cruz, you know, something like that.
You get a Santa Cruz, and
we're more likely to get a Go. I think we're more likely to get a Go.
I think we will hear some more at like Facebook event maybe a little bit.
Yes,
just a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think F8, which is obviously Facebook's big annual event, which is happening in May, I think that's when they're going to talk about when the Go is going to come out more.
I believe that was
there.
confirmed. Yeah, I believe that was confirmed as well. Unless, of course, all this data nastiness takes them down and they cancel it.
Well, I don't know. It more affects this company, right? What was it, Cambridge Analytics, that it is affecting in this sort of like scoop? And if you didn't hear about the story, it's basically a lot of people's information got used for, what was it, the presidential campaign or something like that?
But I mean, their stock price is tanked by 10%.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not like it's not affecting Facebook.
It's basically what happens that Facebook has 50 million people's profiles that got leaked, basically, and that they don't really know, what happened with that kind of information.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing, of course.
Wait, mine too?
No, only US.
Because I do get a lot of
I think it's only
advertisement
US.
now of like Zim in his underwear wearing an Oculus Go.
No, that is.
Or is that just
based on
coincidence?
search preferences, Nathie.
Oh, yeah.
It's based on search preferences.
I'm sure Oculus get a good deal on Facebook advertising rates, being the platform that they are. But
imagine if the Oculus Go comes out or any VR headset from Oculus and then Zim is on like the front of the box and they make so many like every week and he didn't give any permission. He's in the manual. He's on every box on every billboard everywhere.
That was actually
amazing.
It's so funny because I had to explain this to my own mother because she's like, and did they get your permission for that? And I was like, no, Mom. It's like no one does that these days. It's like your images are everywhere. Anyway, it's fine. Yeah. We're fine.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, if they were going to use your image, at least have the decency to invite you to the event that they're promoting. That's what I thought.
Those are two totally disconnected things, right? I was just a happy dude, in OC4 in a colorful shirt. So this shirt actually.
Yeah, it was.
Before you know it, like at Facebook event or like when the Oculus Go gets officially announced, and Zim comes on stage and he presents himself as like the mascot of Oculus.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
Maybe something hidden is going on behind the scenes. I wouldn't tell you guys. I'd have to be hush hush.
That's true. That's true. NDAs are important.
They are very important.
So let's talk more about the Oculus Go, because at GDC they've been actually publicly demoing the Oculus Go, and this is the first time that this has ever happened. So this is really interesting. And what they were doing, they set up a sort of demo where members could sort of queue up and try it out. But what they were doing, they were doing it cross-platform. So Rift players were playing with Go players with the same game. So the games that they were showing off for this were Anshar Online, which is a futuristic space shooter. The game itself looks really interesting. It was the same studio made Anshar 2, which was a Gear VR title, space shooter as well. But with Anshar Online, you can play 50 missions on your own. You can jump into co-op, and you can have PvP missions as well.
The co-op sounds so nice, doesn't it? I mean, like looking at this earlier, I'd heard of Anshar 2. I only just connected the dots when you were saying it there, Mike, because that was a really big title on Gear, right? And
it was,
and we didn't get it on any of the PC VR, so I've never played it. But it looked, when I first saw it, I was like, hey, they just took basically Eve Valkyrie's idea and kind of made it co-op, and it sounds totally cool. I mean, if I was next to you on a plane, Mike, I'd totally be up for doing that if planes allow. Are planes going to allow that?
Yeah, like this is the thing. Like I brought this on a plane with me today. Like I was so tempted, but I was just like, this is, I don't know. I wasn't quite comfortable enough to just stick it on and like everyone just go, what the frick is that guy doing over there?
You so should.
I will. Maybe I'll do it on the way home. Yeah, that's true. I think next time, what would Zim do?
The part of like cross-platform is super interesting because
it is.
As you may know, when on Oculus Home and also on Steam, you always have that issue where games become a ghost town and there are not enough people to play with anymore after a while. So this might help out with that. So the more they get shared together, the bigger the community is for a certain game. So
that's it. And I noticed you made the comparison to Eve Valkyrie, like although it is a space shooter, I think it's a little bit more simplified, a bit more arcadey than Eve. But yeah, it's the perfect title to jump in co-op and PvP and just have a jump in sort of 20-minute session with some buddies online. So that's pretty cool. The other game that they were showing off cross-platform was Catan VR. and that's kind of based on the traditional board game Settlers of Catan, and sort of 4 players, cross-platform, around a tabletop little area with the board game in the middle. You can choose your own avatar, and you've got like the cards that you're playing on the table and moving your characters and competing with each other, but it's also very much like a social experience as well. So when I first saw it, it kind of reminded me of like the Werewolves Within, you know, that kind of social environment. You're sharing this little area together, but it looks like a ton of fun. I think that's a great way to show off sort of VR cross-platform is something like this.
It's a huge game as well. I don't know if any of you like play the actual board game.
It takes a while.
It's massive, but it's incredibly fun to do so. And it has a huge following as well. I can imagine people buying an Oculus Rift just to play this title.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, they won't even need to do that. They can buy a Go for $200 and like jump straight in. Yeah,
this is totally. We're definitely getting into territory now. 2018 is the year of the gateway drug, and I am so excited. My wife just asked me earlier because we were talking about the Vive Pro and stuff, and we'll talk about that later. But she said, "What are you most excited about this year?" And I said, "Oculus Go." Because it's going to reduce the barrier. If you're a student and you've just been itching to get into VR, you don't have a lot of pocket change or whatever, boom, headset comes out and you can play multiplayer with your friends.
Yeah, and it's the same like with me being away right now. You know, obviously I'm away from my Rift. You know, I can't play any VR titles, but you know, the Gear, I know it's going to be a step back from the Go, but it gives you a good indication of what the Go is going to be like. And you know, it's that portable nature, and I think the best part of it is showing it off to other people. It is getting them hooked on the drug as well, right? So you go around to your friends and family's house, you're like, hey, check out this Go. And they're like, yeah, then next thing you know, they're sinking $200 in, and then it's going to spread like a virus and everyone will have one.
I just hope that indeed, like when the adoption of VR becomes bigger, that we can see the benefit of that also on the platforms that we're using now, like better titles, bigger titles on the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift.
It will feed
I'm personally, I'm not that interested in mobile VR, but if it pushes the platform forward, just in general, the genre forward just in general, then I'm all for it.
But I think it's funny because Zim commented on a post on Twitter this week as well. I think it was Rev Kyle tweeted it, and it was something, and we both said the same thing. It was funny. It was like reading each other's minds. But he mentioned something about, you know, like the best of mobile and the best of like being at home. And me and Zim both said what we want is the Switch, the Nintendo Switch of VR. So when you plug it into your PC at home, you get the high fidelity, high frame rate, high
easy
resolution
access.
But when you unplug it, you can take it away. The frame rate drops. You know, the resolution drops.
That's exactly something easy to use. And my brother has been using the Vive Focus most of the time. I haven't really had much time to he's taking it everywhere at the moment. And it's so like it's just so simple. You turn it on, you give someone that controller, and they are immersed. And they like most people that checked it out now say like, we want one too. Where can I get this?
Yeah.
And some people love to do a simple puzzle game, and some people just like to watch a movie, and they're all like, wow. And it's not a hassle anymore. You don't need to slide your phone in to do something. You don't really need a PC. It just works, and it's just button done, and tracking is just basic, but it works, you know. Done.
Exactly.
You don't need to lurk someone to your house to let someone try VR. It's also a thing.
I mean, those all benefits.
Come to my man cave, please. Come in.
But still, it's a different use of the VR that we do, right?
Still,
I mean,
it's
it will
different.
never replace, at least not while the technology is not at the same point.
I'm just gonna say this, Rowdy, as a response to what you just said. Resident Evil 7 on a plane. Just gonna leave it there. Resident Evil 7 on a plane. Someone call security.
Someone's going to be needing some sick bags.
No,
so that's
but
why I know.
I'm not denying. But the thing I'm trying to say is that the mobile technology will not be, probably never be at the same point as the technology that the PC is at that point, just because it's.
But does it need to be? Is the question?
Yeah.
Because we know for definite that we don't need high, amazing graphics to have a great immersive experience in VR.
No, but
so it could be something basic.
Of course, but now you're just talking about the graphical awareness. But who knows in 5 or 10 years from now what kind of other systems that you have? Maybe we'll be jacking in like plugs in our spine just to get connected or something. I mean, we don't know where this technology is going.
Rowdy is right. Like the standard of what people expect right now is super low. It's like most people don't really do much with VR when they try it for the first time. It's like, but then later on, there will be so many options of how you can get into VR. And like right now, it doesn't need to be extremely, like someone was so amazed of the Vive Pro or the Vive Focus that that person spent like 10 minutes in just a menu. And the only thing that was happening was that Vive pod just flying in that same loop every 2 minutes. And there were some people walking by. It's like a mall. It's like a menu where it's like a mall and there are spaceships landing there.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow. And they haven't even played anything yet.
Yeah, for that I think it's ideal because you just get people to experience what virtual reality is and what it can be. But after that, I think you need to take that next step and you need to try to bring that, like that thing that nobody ever thought of. You need to bring that to the platform.
Yeah. Just to play a counter card here a little bit. I think that when we talk about mobile VR, right? It's like the desktop laptop thing. How many people, if you took a sample of 20 people off the street, how many people would have a desktop PC and how many would have like a laptop? And then
how many of them are gamers?
How many people would have mobile? Yeah, but we're not just talking about games, right? We're talking about all applications of.
I mean, I think consumer media will be the biggest use case for mobile VR, not gaming.
Oh yeah, I mean you got an IMAX cinema. You just sit on your couch in a shitty apartment, and you've got an IMAX in front of you for $200.
Yeah. But for that I completely agree. But what I mean is that like the kind of applications that you want to use a PC for now are the kind of applications that you will use a PC for in the future as well. I don't see, like, for example, gaming be taken off on a mobile platform unless it's like in a certain setting or a certain kind of experience that is designed for.
Yeah.
Like Minecraft, I can perfectly imagine that would be huge on mobile.
Well, I'll be able to tell you next week. I'm going to try it out. So just quickly before we move on, because I just want to cover this last bit of Oculus news, and that is Oculus Home is getting multiplayer support, and it is coming this summer. So that means that we can jump into each other's home environments, I can go and trash Zim's pad in his VR pad, and then we can go and play a game together. Probably.
Wait. So when I can remember, and it's a long time ago that they said like, we're gonna have multiplayer.
It's a year.
I think it was like
a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah, it was a year ago.
But this is something so important. It needs to happen as soon as possible. This should be the standard now. Okay.
As soon as it happens, we'll drop Zim's username in the comment box, and then everyone can go and trash this place.
Unlockable underpants, But the thing is, right? If I ask you the question, right?
His house.
What would you prefer, right? So Steam VR has had, in my view, right? Like Steam VR has had the subpar experience as a home environment, but multiplayer for a longer time. And then there's Oculus Home, which I think is it's kind of a nicer, polished experience that they're taking their sweet time.
And you get the loot boxes.
Let me tell you.
The loot boxes make it all for me.
I hate people.
I forgot about that, Rowdy.
Okay.
But I mean, the thing.
No, but I do get you. Like, people are not really using it in Steam's Home anymore, as long as they find features for that. But the thing is, HTC doesn't make their own home system. So Valve just delivers on something that they don't even have to deliver on in the first place. You know what I mean?
What is really nice about including multiplayer though often is that you also get like multiplayer generated scenes, which I think that like Valve did really well. With like those photogrammetry kind of scenes where you could like walk around the church and like, you had the moving water and like they did a lot of like cool stuff with that though. And
and they have been also working on this for a very long time. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the HTC news, this HTC just announced that the Vive Focus will be shipping internationally later this year. So that's going to be interesting. More people around the world are going to be able to check out the Focus.
Nathie just got one. It's like they're trying to tease him. Like,
yeah. By the way, now you can get it.
To get one, like.
I had to send my brother to China to pick this thing up.
I mean, that's the risk.
They probably saw them. They were like, "Hey, let's release it internationally now."
I'm sure, like, it's still hard to get one, even if you do it internationally. Because, like, when he was going to China, I still had to prove that I was a company. Otherwise, you couldn't get one.
Yeah.
There was like a lady getting out of like a store in the back, and they gave him a Vive Focus, but it wasn't like, hey, here's a store, let's buy one. You know, it's kind of so I think it will still be hard to depends if they just want to sell this stuff now, then it will be a development kit for basically everyone.
I'm hearing very positive things about the Focus, though, not just from you, Nathie, but like across Reddit and other sources. I mean, people are seemingly very interested in it. What I was interested about it, because I've been hearing about other headsets and their tracking mechanisms, it's 6 degrees of freedom, but to what extent is my question.
So this is my issue, right? Let me just pipe it in before Nathie. Like, I get that it's 6 degrees of freedom and it's got inside-out tracking, fine, but what I don't get is that it's 6 degrees of freedom in a headset and 3 degrees of freedom in a controller. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Because the controller's not tracked, Mike, right? So you can't put your hand in and grab something.
No.
So why do you have to move around the environment then?
Your head. Makes a huge difference.
But it would be better the other way around, surely, because most mobile sort of games are seated experiences, and you want that hand fidelity rather than your head fidelity.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah, I get where you're going.
Yeah.
But for me, like Nathie will know this coming from the DK1, DK2 as well, without the positional tracking, you straight away notice that. Like, if I step into a gear right now...
Oh, yeah, I totally notice it.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing you notice. So,
yeah.
Actually, I would say I would totally forego the reach my hand out and see my hand and all that, and I would rather the positional tracking, because one of the things that Subnautica teaches everyone right now is, if something's, you want to get a little bit closer to it for that visual fidelity. In a mobile headset, you want that. So now Nathie can get a chance to respond.
Sorry, go on, Nathie.
That was a tracking question. Basically, what is 6 degrees of freedom? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those words that just sells in a way. But I mean, it like the Vive Focus is so when you stand in a room or you are somewhere, you press a button and then it will just create a 2x2 play space for you. And within that thing, you can just walk around. So it's a room scale, but also a standing experience. So it shows that guardian system around you, and that's where you can walk in. And it will remember that, because I had that play space in my living room, and I was standing in the kitchen, and I could still see it there. So it just stays on the spot.
Oh, so does it take some time to do that, to scan?
No, it's super fast. It's like just one click of a button, and then I do think that, of course, like if you got better lighting, then that's the only thing. It's kind of like the mixed reality headset stuff. You just need to have the perfect place to do it, but it works. It works really well. The controller is just very disappointing. The controller is like, it's not tracked, as you said. It's like not aligned at the same spot as where you have this controller. It's always kind of like next to your hand, and it just goes up and down and left and right. But it's not tracked because the camera doesn't see that. Because my brother tried it, and I put my hand in front of like the cameras, and the controller still moved. So it's just those basic...
I don't know if you noticed as well, Nathie, but the trigger on it isn't very nice at all. Like, it actually clicks. The trigger clicks.
No. It's almost comparable to one of those Nintendo Switch controllers, like very plastic.
It is worse than a Switch controller, because the controller on the Switch doesn't click. But yeah, you get that horrible clicking. It's horrible.
Just to get back to your question, Zim, were you wondering what the 6 degrees of freedom were, or?
Yeah, no. The reason I'm asking is because this has been qualified in a few different mobile headsets. There are some that will only track you from a seated or a standing position moving around. And won't, if you walk around, that doesn't work. It breaks the quote-unquote 6 degrees of freedom. So what we're seeing here is several different shades of what they're calling 6 degrees of freedom. And then I would go to the further extent and say Santa Cruz is something where you've almost got room scale 6 degrees of freedom, as far as I understand, or freedom of motion. You could literally walk down your hallway with it if that was in any way safe to do. But with these headsets, you can't. So Nathie answered my question very well by saying it's a 2x2, but it maps. I'm very impressed at that. And again, we're back to the whole mixing of components. Like, I want that controller with this headset, and someone's got to solve that problem sometime.
So moving on to more HTC news. Obviously, HTC opened up the pre-orders for the Vive Pro, and as our predictions last week were completely on the money, and it was $799 in dollars for the headset alone. If you want the base stations, you want the controllers, you're gonna have to buy them separately. But I'd imagine most people who will be getting the Pro will be upgrading from having a Vive already, right?
Oh, look at that baby! Isn't that just worth half a car? I think it. No, I don't think so. Actually, Mike, this is my first ever time admitting this. My audience doesn't know it either. I did pre-order one. Yep. But I also canceled that pre-order tonight because I basically hopped on it the second it was announced because there was no forewarning that this thing was about to come out.
Oh, you were just going to sell it to someone else, those poor people.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, look, the price in the UK is stupid because it's the equivalent of $1,120. So we are paying a massive premium over the top. And to be honest, as much as I want to demo it, as you guys know, Vive is not my favorite headset at the moment. I'm actually even teetering on saying maybe I'll sell my Vive because there's nothing exclusive to it. I find it sits there more often than the other two headsets. I don't see the reason for it. Aside from one or two exclusives, things like LA Noire and stuff, I just don't see why I should be using that headset anymore.
But I do, like, genuinely, like, I do think it's a fantastic headset. Like, but I just think, you know, if you want the very, very best and you've got the money to burn, go for it. But it is a lot.
But why not wait? I mean, I'm not saying I'm never going to touch it, right? Why not wait for a comprehensive package? Because the funny comparison stats on Reddit were showing that you could buy a full board Vive with the trackers and all that and the headset cheaper than buying a Vive Pro headset alone plus all the accessories.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing, like, I did a little tweet out as well, and I said, like, for the price, you could get 2 Rift bundles, you could get 4 Oculus Go's at that price as well. But I think the best thing that came out of the whole thing with the Vive Pro being announced and it being this expensive bundle is that if you haven't picked up a Vive and you're really interested in getting a Vive particularly, that the original Vive has gone down $100.
Yeah, that's
so you can pick up the original Vive package now for $499 with Fallout 4 bundled with it. Yeah. And I think that's a great price. Like, the Vive has always been that little bit more expensive than the Rift, but now it's getting so close between the two, and it's quite a compelling sort of difference. You know, the Vive have got amazing tracking, right? And you know, you've got Fallout 4 bundled with it as well.
Yeah. Like, and also, I think that the Vive Pro now is really aimed at those who want just like the best in the market. It's the same people who upgrade from a GTX 1080 to a GTX 1080 Ti. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the price, I mean, you have what a 37% increase in resolution, roughly that.
But in
that's the same as like upgrading from a 1080 to a 1080 Ti. Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was 78%, but maybe I'm.
How much?
I thought it was 78% pixel density increase.
It's all numbers though.
It is just numbers, exactly.
Exactly. Like, having tried it, like, it does look great. Like, text looks great, but in terms of like the overall environment around you, it's not like a huge leap forward. It's a step forward.
But I'm wondering, they never claimed that to be.
Like the Samsung Odyssey. This is what I'm hearing on Reddit. A lot of people are saying, "I'm not going to do the Vive Pro. Why don't I spend less money, get the Samsung Odyssey?" But isn't that still Windows Store and rubbish controllers?
Yes, exactly that. And poor tracking. Like, I would say, you know, if you're really that interested in that display, out of the two, spend the extra money and just get the Vive Pro. Like, the Odyssey, I don't really think is a compelling choice because, yeah, you're getting that fidelity. I tell you what, if you're a sim, there is one caveat. If you're a sim enthusiast, whether that be like... Not Zim,
enthusiast.
Sim. If you're like a driving racing sim,
there. Well, that's why I was thinking about
Assetto Corsa or like Eve Valkyrie or like was it Eve Online or whatever it is that everyone plays, and you use the hot ass and all that kind of stuff, and you don't use the controllers, go for the Odyssey. It's a clear choice. If you want it for normal traditional gaming, then go for the Vive Pro. But that's if you.
It'll be an interesting year though for headsets. You know, there's quite a few that are coming up that all claim to like be better than or equal or something like that to the HTC Vive. So I think it's a first step towards like, you know, like the new generation that is coming. I don't consider the Vive Pro to be next generation. I still see it as like I said before, like what iPhone does with their adding the S, or like the what do they do? Do they do 1.5 or something? No, they don't. They always add an S, right? Or
they
SE
used
or whatever.
They used to. They didn't do a 7S. They just moved straight to the 8.
Okay, yeah, whatever they do, whatever they did, then there we go.
Whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
But the other thing I heard, Mike, from the Odyssey perspective, which I think combats the point that it's good for simmers, because again, I was getting quite enticed. I was like, I'm canceling this order, and of course you want to put your money somewhere. I'm going to actually keep it, but Samsung Odyssey is meant to be relatively uncomfortable for long play sessions, is what I've heard.
Wait for VR cover,
I've never tried it. But Nathan,
in terms of wearing it,
Odyssey, right?
or in terms of like frame rate or flickering?
I mean, every headset for me so far, if I don't have VR covers, it's never ending well, okay? And it doesn't matter which one it is. It just doesn't. No. Yeah,
I agree with you. I totally agree.
So if it's Odyssey,
if I don't get my VR covers, I am playing it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I had a few events where I went to an event and I took my own faceplates with me and clicked them
I did the same.
I can't do it without anymore. Yeah. But like, you know, the thing is, and I've said this in a couple of like episodes now, this Vive Pro is for the industry, and don't feel offended by that. It's a tool for a lot of companies, okay? This is something that is getting bought by enterprises in a bulk shipment, you know, where they buy like 20 of these or 50 for an arcade, or maybe for all the developers at a company, you know? And of course, if you are an extremely big fan of VR, then you want to consider it, because there will be like an Intel WiGig wireless adapter, and there will be some cool gadgets with it and stuff like that. But if you are just a casual consumer, no reason to buy it. I do understand that there is maybe a certain like social pressure within the VR community that you want to be cool and you want to, because I get it. If someone else, one of your friends has a Vive Pro, and then you're like, I kind of want to have one too. You know what I mean? So some people will buy it because they really need it, but there are also people that are just showing off because they just want to have it, and it's like, this is in my collection now. And for me, it's like a tool. I'm using VR every day, you know. I use the Vive almost every day. So for me, it's like, you know, a good investment.
I think you're right, Nathie, in that it is more sort of aimed towards industry, but they didn't market it that way. No, like
that's what I would say as well.
It doesn't show any industry applications.
But that's what I think that why they did that is because in the end, this Vive Pro will get cheaper. Maybe this price right now is just the first. So in the end, this will be a headset for the rest as well. It's the same with the Vive Focus. Focus is freaking expensive if you want to buy it in China. Yeah. I'm sure it will get a lot cheaper when it's actually a consumer thing.
Yeah, I still think the main audience is prosumers, people who just want the best, or no matter what money it is. The people who buy the Titan X, the people who buy like those kind of things, even though, you know, you don't get such a bigger improvement. It's basically just to have the best, you know, to say like, this is the best that I can have at this moment, regardless of the
price. Plus, like
this
price is pretty high, but if you look from a company perspective, if I buy this Vive Pro, I don't pay the full price, because I will get a part of that back. So it looks like a lot of money, but for a company, it's an investment, and well, in my country at least, you get a part of the money back because you invested into. So yeah, I don't know. I can say that I will be getting one. I didn't really say anything about it. This is like the first scoop I can give you, and I'm also planning to do a giveaway of one. So that's gonna happen later down the road.
To a company?
Sorry?
You're giving a company away.
I'm giving my company away. No, like a Vive Pro. Yeah, but I'm pretty excited for it. But it's not like. It doesn't feel like a whole new experience. For me, it's just like, okay, upgrade. Now I can move on with the next one.
Of course, that's exactly what I mean with
you know, I'm more interested in that WiGig from Intel, where I'm like, hey, wireless, because I kind of get like fed up with the cables. Plus, the new lighthouse technology that will come later will also support like more headsets in one room, and that could be super cool. And it's blue.
It's blue. Yeah. I like blue. Okay.
The last caveat, now let us move on, Mike. It was just, don't forget the cost of graphics cards if you're going. Resolution does not come for free. any one of us who's ever gone for a massive monitor has realized that pain where you're like, oh, now I can't drive the game at the same
Massive monitor.
Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about?
And graphics cards at the moment, they're going through the roof.
Well, I just don't want people getting trapped by that.
Let's say if you do not own a Vive yet, I would just go for just a Vive, not the Pro one. It's I would spend the money on some other fun gadgets, or an Oculus. But some people want to have a Vive now, and they're like, should I buy because some people will see this as the first Vive and now the newer version. Well, they both have their own. Like in the end, as Rowdy said many times before, it's about what happens inside the HMD. And not really, because I've seen so many people on Reddit saying like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this game when the Vive Pro comes out because then I can play it with a higher res. I'm like, what does that even mean? What is that going to change?
The only thing where I think you do have a competitive advantage is like when you play, like, for example, Onward, and you can see like that the characters in the distance are maybe a few pixels more.
Yeah. But
because I often when I play Onward,
racing Apex, but we're repeating ourselves.
I can't see a thing.
Yeah. Okay, so the Vive Pro, if you're interested in picking one up, it is $800 and it will be shipping in early April. But if you don't have $800 and like Nathie said, you want to sort of buy the original OG Vive for $500, you could maybe buy some of these as well. And that is the Vive trackers, because they're also available for order on the HTC website. And you could just strap them to your feet, fire up the Island 359 and kick a dinosaur in the face. That might be a good fun.
And don't forget the cheap shipping as well. Enjoy.
Oh, really? It's quite expensive to ship?
HTC is always expensive.
Always.
It makes no sense at all. I think like if you want to ship a Pro, you need to pay around like did someone say like 120 bucks for like shipping?
Mine actually wasn't. So when I checked
but you already
out,
paid £1,300. Like maybe they saved a bit on the shipping then.
Yeah, I think they did.
That's crazy.
It depends on where you live. Like some countries are just not great to buy a Vive
when they
Pro
originally, the original Vive,
headset.
I think it cost me something like $79 to ship it to the UK. It was a joke.
Yeah, mine was also like €1,000. So I mean, that was pretty crazy.
For me as well, yeah.
Okay, so obviously you can buy the trackers as well. If you buy the original Vive, you save yourself a bit of money over the Pro, get some nice accessories, get some nice games. Talking about nice games, Budget Cuts is coming to Rift and HTC Vive in May. Obviously, it's been in development now for a long time. The developers were very quiet for some time about its development. Nathie obviously went to visit those guys whilst he was in Stockholm. And they've been showing off Budget Cuts at GDC, and so far the feedback has been pretty positive. So maybe they have used that time really well to really make a polished VR experience, but only time will tell when we get our hands on it ourselves. But some more of that will be coming in the near future. But really, what I really want to know is what Valve are announcing at GDC, if anything. But we don't have that information yet, so maybe it'll come after the podcast. So apologies if you're listening to this on Saturday and something major has broken, like Half-Life 3 in VR, and we haven't covered it. I apologize, but we will be back to our normal schedule next week. So moving on to one of our next topics, and that is Uber. So Uber in the United States have filed for a patent, and that patent was filed way back in 2016, but recently was uncovered this February. And the patent office were basically explaining what Uber's goals are when it comes to driverless technology and also incorporating VR into their driverless vehicles. And this is what they want to do. They want to have vehicles that drive themselves, which sounds kind of cool, but then they want the passengers to be entertained with VR headsets in the back. So not only will the car be driving itself, but you as a passenger
sounds like a bad combination.
will be completely blind to what's going on.
This roller coaster feels so real.
Mike, didn't it just drop this week? Didn't Uber just have to freeze its automated driver service because of a fatality?
Exactly. And I was going to come on to that. That was going to be the big twist in the story. But yeah.
Sorry.
Hashtag spoiler.
You hater.
You should tell me in future when you're going to
So basically, they're planning on having passengers in the back wearing VR headsets, and there was a lot of obviously rumors about this is going to make you feel super sick, and they were like, don't worry, we've kind of got a system in place for that. Like the VR experience comes with like a bag in front of you. and that kind of thing to kind of make it easier for you. But yeah, Zim is totally right that what actually happened literally, I think it was yesterday or the day before, one of these autonomous vehicles, which was actually, it did actually have someone in the driver's seat, by the way. It had what they call, what do they call them?
Drivers. No,
no, they don't refer to them as drivers. They refer to them as something else. I will find
You
it.
mean dummies? Like dummy?
No.
Uber
It was a real person in the driver's seat, but they don't refer to them as drivers.
Oh,
no, no.
I know that. I know. Human being, Mike. They call them.
Yeah.
A stuntman. Okay. I like that name better.
No. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. But what happened was, so this autonomous car, it was driving along. It had a guy in the driver's seat, but he wasn't in control of the vehicle. It was just driving on its own. And then sadly, the car hit a woman who was walking her bike on the pavement in Phoenix in the US. And unfortunately, sadly, she died as a result of her injuries. Yeah,
really?
Genuinely.
Is this the first time that it happens?
Well,
I think it's the first time.
We think it's the first time that an autonomous vehicle has hit someone and killed them. Yeah,
that has not been covered up.
And this is the thing, like Zim mentioned at the very beginning, like Uber has ceased the testing with the autonomous vehicles as we speak, because obviously this is a major concern for them. This should never have happened, and until they get this problem fixed, then we're never going to have these on the roads in the very near future. But the weird thing is, and this is the question that I sort of put to you, right? It raises a really interesting question as to who's at fault here. If the guy was in the driver's seat and in control of the vehicle, but the car was actually driving itself, who's responsible for this woman's death? Is it Uber or the company that made the technology around the autonomous vehicle, or is it the person that was sitting in the driver's seat that didn't have any control over the vehicle? It's such a weird question, but I wanted to throw it out there to see what you guys think.
I was just thinking back to, it needs to be the one that builds it, I would say, but. I mean, like, the computer fails in the end, right?
There's an easy answer here, right? I mean, this is just like, go watch the movie Terminator, right? Just go watch the movie Terminator.
Humanity did it.
Who's the bad guy there, right?
Skynet.
The smart fecker who came up with the goddamn chip. That's the guy. Get him.
Get him.
The thing is,
Zim's going Sarah Connor on us.
Before we get any of these things on the market, there needs to be regulations about in these kind of situations what happens. I can even make you a more interesting paradox for that. Like, just imagine you're driving you're sitting in a driverless car, a self-driving car. All of a sudden, a group of children crosses the platform. Crosses the street. There's two things that the car can do: drive over the children, kill all the children, or drive over the cliff and kill you. Yeah. What should the car do?
Yeah. Exactly.
I've heard this.
I love this question because it brings up so many interesting dynamics about like the way it's programmed to work, right?
And there's a VR experience like this. On mobile. Because I've tried it. There's a VR experience where you drive in it's like a cardboard kind of scene. I forgot the name of it. I can look it up. But it's like, everything is in cardboard, and they present you with that exact scene where you're driving in a driverless car. You're riding in a driverless car, and there is like people that are crossing, and you can then like the screen freezes, and you need to choose. And do you kill yourself? Is that what you're gonna do, or are you gonna drive over the kids?
Well, that, I think that depends on how intelligent this system is going to be, because right now it's not that smart. And let's say if you build up a personal relationship with a AI you have been friends with for a while, that is connected to your house, is connected to your car, is everywhere around you, then you are going to have the problem where it would say like, Nathie, we're best friends, so I'm just gonna drive over some kids because I like you. But you get my point.
Sides with you.
Like right now, it's not having a heart, or it doesn't really. It does think for itself, I would say, but it's not at a part where it's really like the car knows you and knows how you think and would, you know what I mean? Then it will make a different decision. Right now, it's still very stupid or something. You know what I mean?
Like where it goes out of its way to
it's still like you. Both ways is a stupid decition, but
the thing is, Nathie, you've been in a Tesla, right? You've tried the like autonomous driving. You've experienced it yourself. Have you?
Well, I mean, I don't have a license, but I am very like into the whole Tesla thing. But as far as I know, if you buy a Tesla, you also agree on certain things.
That's
on
right.
That. What
No,
like
you're right.
if the car fails or
Yeah.
and I've heard many stories like Marquez from that big YouTube channel that does reviews on phones.
Yeah.
He said that his car actually like failed once.
That's right. He mentioned it on the H3 podcast.
H2 podcast.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And
No,
then and then there was something like you could bring your car back to like to Tesla and they would check it out, and if it would happen again, you would get a total new one. But it's still kind of scary that a car can just almost like a horse without a wagon and just
You're not in control of it.
But then you're like stuck to it.
But there you basically say it. I mean, who knows that, what if you have a taxi driver that is severely depressed, and the moment that you're in a car, he decides to kill himself and drive off a cliff?
Yeah.
I mean, there's risks involved in any of these kind of things. I mean, I still prefer an autonomous driven computer program. I will still trust that more than I will trust any kind of person, basically.
Rowdy does not like people.
I do not like people.
So this is a good question, and Rowdy already answered it. But like, if you turned up from the airport like I did today, and there was just an autonomous car and like a normal traditional taxi driver, which one would you choose? Like, would you
autonomous?
choose?
Autonomous.
What about you, Zim?
Definitely taxi driver.
If it's more mainstream, yes. Right now, I wouldn't.
Yeah, of course.
Really,
I'm not going to be like, I mean, you need to sign a form first.
There's like a test sign, like $1 to go on this ride.
No.
Stop that, driver.
It's very good.
Just think
there's
of it
two
this
things
way.
that I don't want to die from, Mike. One of those is autonomous vehicles. The second thing is drones. I don't want to be killed by either of those. Those are not good ways to die.
But you wouldn't mind getting killed by an Uber driver?
No, but
yeah.
No, but
I didn't say
that
that
happened
now,
before
did
as
I?
well. That happened
But at
before
least
as
you
well.
can reason. I do feel that there's an ability to speak. You can't speak to the CPU in a car.
No.
You can speak to your driver to be like, dude, slow down and let me out or whatever. I mean, there's certain red flags along the way where you can be like, this guy's swerving a little bit.
I don't know, man.
You can't control every situation. That's not what I'm saying.
It's funny you mentioned about reasoning with them, Zim, because have you seen that episode of Black Mirror called Metalhead? And it's
I've never seen Black Mirror.
Oh, you should so watch that episode. You would love it. And that it's so terrifying, and that's exactly the reason why, because you can't reason with the thing. But it's interesting because when I turned up at the airport today in Amsterdam, I went to get in a taxi, and there was a white Tesla Model 3, and I was like, I'm going to get in that taxi. So I jumped in the Model 3, and it was my first ride in a Tesla today. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's funny, like at like Amsterdam at Schiphol, they have so many Teslas everywhere.
Yeah.
Like almost every taxi driver is using a Tesla there.
And the thing is, like, I was like, yeah, there's a Tesla. I'm going to jump in it. It was like so nice. I spoke to the taxi driver. I was like, so what do you think of the Tesla? He goes, yeah, I don't like it. I'd rather be driving a luxury Mercedes or a BMW. I was like, fair enough. But it's interesting. Like, the other thing about taxis in Amsterdam is they are super expensive. Like, ridiculous. It cost me like €60 to get from the airport to my hotel. I'm like, Jesus.
He ripped you off. Like.
Yeah, I got.
But they know you are famous. They know you from your channel, so they know you got more bucks to spend. Did you give him like, yeah, you're $60.
Did you give him your pillow?
I didn't have any room for my pillow. Do you know, I had to sacrifice so much to bring here.
What, you didn't take your pillow with you?
No. Like, my bag.
I have to do it.
My bag, I wouldn't fit in the thing otherwise. They'd chuck me off the plane. But yeah, so that is some news about Uber and my crazy adventure here and getting ripped off. Next is Skyrim VR. So you guys, a lot of you really enjoyed Skyrim VR last November. Obviously, Bethesda brought their epic masterpiece to PlayStation VR, and you guys spent a shit ton of time playing it, from what I understand. But now it's coming to PC finally for Steam VR on the 3rd of April. So if you're interested in checking out Steam Skyrim VR, then you can check it out on PC now.
Bloody amazing, actually. If you look at the trailer, it's just the sharpness and the detail. Like, playing on PSVR was nice, but I wonder, I just wonder, is that almost the blur effect, if you want to call it that, on PSVR? Did it mask the fact that the game is actually quite old and the textures are quite old, and are things going to look a little bit upscaled? You know when you watch like a DVD and it's upscaled to Blu-ray definition or whatever, and you can tell it looks a bit weird, like they're using texture smoothing and stuff like that. I just wonder if that's the way it's gonna look. I'm definitely gonna play it. 80 hours into Skyrim PSVR, my favorite VR game after 600 games. It's so amazing. If you've never played this and you're gonna play it on PC VR for the first time, book some time off work or whatever.
So this is my question to you, actually, Zim, because obviously you've probably put in the most hours out of all of us. I've never even played it. But
you're in for a treat.
Have you literally purposely stopped playing it on PSVR the second you found out it was going to be on PC?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my character there is very near and dear to me. Like when I found out that there was going to be no way to port my character across, it's going to be tough. But it's a little bit like playing Subnautica or something, because you start over in a new character, you get a whole new walk of life.
Yeah, so, you go a different way here.
Yeah, you can build a different character. Like I was Khajiit this time, and I could go some different race, a different build, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
The best part of those
how it plays the second time.
The best part of those Elder Scroll games are always the beginnings. I always like that. Just the first time you enter into that world, and doing that in VR is so much more awesome.
Yeah,
I was just laughing about an article I saw on Upload saying, you know what? This was like one of the Eureka facts they had. They said the requirements for Skyrim are going to be a lot lower compared to Fallout 4 VR.
Yeah.
A lot lower.
Nice, well done. But
no, but it's just the games were released 5 years apart, right? So I think Nathies, what you're saying is duh.
Yeah, it's
right. It's like of course,
it's pretty obvious. But I mean, but I don't know. Like I still liked Skyrim the most of all those 3 games they brought out. So I think it will get modded around, and people are gonna make something great out of it as well. I think like the main game is going to be okay-ish, but if you mod it, it's going to be epic.
This is the problem. The devs have stated that there's not going to be any mod support on launch.
Well, I mean, that was with Fallout the same, but you can still... Like, that's the thing. That's what they found out, that basically what Skyrim and Fallout are just some files in the folder together with the main game, the pancake version. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
No, you could just... I'm not saying that, like, I'm not going to advertise it that much, but I mean, in the end, these games have been modded for years.
Yeah.
Before there was even a marketplace for this where you had to spend money on the mods. So people will do it anyway. And I mean, if you have seen videos from, for example, VR Gaming Evolved, he has been modding Skyrim for years. I can remember that when the DK1 came out, people were playing it with 4-packs. Like, it has always been one of the most favorite games to mod for people within VR, so but I just hope I think it's gonna run fine, but we'll see.
And it's interesting because the Skyrim VR bundle that's going to be available on Steam obviously already contains the add-ons as well, which were available to download separately with the Pancake version. So you're going to get Dawnguard, Hearthfire, and Dragonborn in one big package. So you're going to be spending like hours in this. It's available to pre-order now on Steam, and it's listed obviously for the Vive, the Rift, and the Windows mixed reality platforms, and it's going to be available for $59.99 in US dollars.
Oh,
so
that's the only downside. Is friends of mine have said this is going to be the 4th time I've bought at the full price this game, and that is definitely a thing that is a difficult point for some people. But as well, I think the fun thing is that things are great. That game, Mike, if you've never played Skyrim, that's going to be amazing.
I've never played it, but also I'm more of like a sci-fi guy, so it'll be interesting to see. I will check it out, but it'll be interesting to see how I get on with it, being more of a sci-fi kind of person rather than a fantasy person.
But it requires time,
a lot
though.
how well you took up to From Other Suns.
I love From Other Suns.
That's so good. We got to do more. More. We never beat it.
Yeah. So I think we're sort of running out of time, really, because we've been going on for about an hour and 40 minutes now. So I think we're going to have to sort of skip our last couple of subjects, and then we'll obviously talk about them in next week's episode. Obviously, I hope you guys appreciate the fact that we didn't do this live this episode, but we will be back next week doing it live as we normally do. And what we'll try and do is, even when this is restreamed, we'll try and jump in and interact with you guys like we did last week. So at least we can talk to you at the same time and still have that interaction, because that's what's that's what's so great about doing this podcast live is the interaction and the feedback we get from you guys being a part of it. So thank you for understanding, and leave us a comment, leave us a like, and we'll see you in next week's episode. And for now, bye bye. Take care.
Yep.